Hello everyone! Today I bring you an update on my MIDI keyboard project. It's been a busy month, but I finally got the new Octave prototype working. If you saw the previous video, you might remember that I wanted to switch from using photoresistors to phototransitors, which I have done. This seems to have completely solved my problems with consistency and missing notes, and now it's working perfectly. As you can see, this time I also put the facade on the white keys, which definitely looks better than the bare mechanism. I do have to tweak the spacing of the keys and make sure they sit more parallel to each other, but this is mainly for aesthetics. The mechanism is still the same, but I shifted it slightly lower to make the top of the keys thicker and more rigid. I also completely changed the routing of the wires inside the keys. Previously, the leads from the photoresistors went through and below the keys, which wouldn't work with the more rigid leads of the phototransistors. Now, the leads are exposed through a hole for soldering, and the wires go in channels through the sides. Previously, some of the wiring was done in between the linkages. Specifically, the LEDs for the black keys were wired that way. This was resourceful, but very tedious to work with. Now, all the wiring is done through the front, which is heaps better. As suggested in the comments, I might eventually tidy up the wiring with PCBs, but I would first need to learn to design them. Another thing I changed was the springs, making them much easier to make and place. Before, they were this weird shape and were placed in between keys, which was tedious, and they needed to be pressed down to get tension. Now, they're just a straight wire, and slightly thicker on the white keys to make all keys feel the same. Overall, I've made plenty of changes to improve ease of assembly and help me with the wiring, and the wiring is looking much better now. One thing I'm worried about right now is power consumption, as I hadn't considered that 49 LEDs might be more than what a standard USB is supposed to draw. This isn't an issue right now, since the single octave draws barely 180 milliamps, which is technically more than the default 100 milliamps for USB devices, but the full keyboard I want to eventually make will draw about 4 times that, which could be an issue as I would rather not have two separate wires for power and signal. That, however, is a problem for future me. As of right now, the action feels pretty smooth, although a little too light, and I'm still adjusting the math that converts the key speed to MIDI velocity, but it already allows for pretty dynamic playing. I really want to make more keys to make this more playable, but I first want to test this small sample to make sure I'm good to go. One issue I already spotted is I accidentally made some of the wire channels slightly too shallow, which could be one of the reasons why the keys look slightly crooked, but I won't know until I test it. In the comments for my previous video, there seemed to be some interest in replicating this project. From the beginning, I planned on publishing the files and code for this project, and I might even make a build guide if there's enough interest. I'm just not sure when that will be. Although I am at the stage where the 3D model is pretty much ready, some small changes here and there might still happen, so I don't think it's quite ready yet. I do hope to publish it soon though, I just don't want to make any promises as to when. As I said before, I want this to actually be usable and playable like an actual keyboard. I've even made it so it's completely plug and play. Just plug it in and the computer automatically recognizes it as a MIDI device, without even opening the USB drive that pop-ups with CircuitPython. On a side note, I will be attending OpenSauce this June as an expositor. I'll be showing off this prototype and as much of the full keyboard as I can get done on time. I'll also take the previous keyboard I made, which is already finished but is less interesting as I just took keys from a broken keyboard and wired them up to an Arduino Nano. Anyway, this has been quite a journey, and after lots of failed prototypes, I think I'm finally on the final stretch. I'll try to keep you posted on my progress, and thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon.